Well, hello. Welcome to a new era of Marshall University athletics. The newest member of the Thundering Herd is Vice President and Athletics Director Gerald Harrison. Welcome. I'm Steve Cotton.
Hey,
Good to
Steve,
meet
nice
you.
to meet you.
I'm one of thousands that you will be meeting for the first time over the weeks to come.
Well, I'm looking forward to it. It's a pleasure to meet you.
A lot's going on in a hurry. We're just weeks away from a new sports season, so it's going to be a whirlwind, I'm sure. We're going to talk about your background and what long-term got you here. But in the short term, the last couple of months, I understand you really had no connection to Marshall University. How have the last few weeks gone? How did it come about? What, number one, made Marshall intrigue you at all to start with? And then how did it become the place?
Well, it's amazing how fast it really happened. The search firm reached out and asked me would I be interested in throwing my hat in the ring for an opportunity at Marshall University. And Marshall has such a tradition, name recognition. There's so many things that even growing up in South Carolina, I knew enough about Marshall. I have never been here, but I knew about the school and I knew obviously the history and some of the things that have happened. So there was a natural energy about it. And then you went through and said, wow, they're doing some really great things. And I always look at what's happening, what's happening around the school and then the leadership. And so once I did that, I said, sure. I talked to the folks at Carr and said, yes. And then it's a series of Wednesdays. Wednesdays, there was a Zoom. Wednesday, I was here on campus. And then the next Wednesday, I was here on campus. And Wednesday today, I'm doing a press conference. So it's been that kind of a whirlwind. But the key to it all, two things. One, when my wife and I came last Wednesday, the town was unbelievable. The community was great, from the landing at the airport to walking downtown. We stayed downtown and just walking in the street, just walking around trying to get a feel for it. And people spoke like it was, that energy you don't get all the time anymore. And just, hey, how you doing? Whatever. And maybe we looked like we didn't belong, but they didn't ask a whole bunch of questions. They said hi, and they were very nice. We went to a local restaurant, and the waitress was a Marshall student, and she came over and she was talking about how great Marshall was, and she was from Ashland, and she was here and in a sorority and all. She was just great and beaming with energy. And I'm a big energy person, and so that was part of it. So I said, this community is something special, and everybody was wearing green on a random Tuesday night. You know what I mean? So it was like, hey, that thing is I thought it was game day. I thought I missed something, but everybody had green on, and that kind of reminded me of my time in Knoxville, where our town surrounds the program. So that kind of gave us energy. And then I met Brad Smith. And then I spent a good hour and 15 minutes with Brad at 7:30 in the morning on Wednesday. And at that point, after meeting with him and hearing his story, his passion, his love for the people of West Virginia and this community, I felt like there's something special here. And then it just went on throughout the day.
You mentioned that your wife came when you visited Marshall. Tell us about your family.
Well, I have an incredible family. I'm truly blessed. My wife, Lisa, is she's probably the MVP right now because she's actually from Clarksville. Her mom lives in Clarksville, and she still signed on us moving to Huntington. So she's the MVP, but she's awesome. We have two great daughters, Tori and Lori. Tori's a guard for Western Kentucky, women's basketball. And then Lori's kind of the personality of the family. She is the energy one, the fashionista. She's that one. So my house is never boring. And they would be mad if I didn't mention that we got a 1-year-old Doberman named Ranger. I'm trying to leave Ranger in Clarksville, but they won't let me.
Well, yeah, best to bring Ranger along too. So long term, you grew up in a sports family.
Yeah.
How early or at what point through your progression in the world did a career in athletics come into focus for you?
Well, just like a lot of people who are fortunate, my dad coached football for 47 years, 30 at the high school level in Darlington, South Carolina, and then 17 at South Carolina State University. And growing up, I always wanted to be like my dad. I was around, I would dress up for Halloween. I dressed up as a coach, and I would be around, I had a little whistle. I was that annoying little kid, that was around talking about what my daddy would want because I was trying to learn things, and he would draw a play and I would draw a bunch of circles. And so, I was always thought I was going to be a coach in a small town in South Carolina. That was actually the goal. And then I got to a point after I got to the University of Tennessee, I was like, okay, I want to be in the administrative side of things and pick that up. But it wasn't until Duke and working for Kevin White. We joke is the godfather of athletic directors. Working for him, where I turned my sights on being an athletics director and working toward that, and he gave me that opportunity. So that's kind of how it all happened, but it started at home.
You have had, starting with your dad, some amazing mentors.
Mhm.
Philip Fulmer, college football Hall of Famer, later became an athletic director.
Mhm.
You mentioned Kevin White. David Cutcliffe, I think the reason you
Yep.
moved from Tennessee on to Duke in the
Yep.
first place. Those are some really good people to learn from. Coach K, I'm sure you spent some time with too.
Yeah. I still can't coach basketball, but yeah, no, it's great. I've been really fortunate to have great mentors, and like you said, and you mentioned a lot of them, Coach Fulmer, and everybody gave me something. I tell people all the time, Coach Fulmer was unflappable. Like he was just always even keeled. He never too high, never too low. And I learned that you got to kind of balance that out. I think Coach Cut had a plan for everything. Like he was, and you listen to the interviews that Peyton talks about Coach Cut. He did. He understood and had a notebook that had a plan for everything. I think if you asked him to build a spaceship right now, he could tell you how to do it. And so I learned that you have to plan. Prior planning prevents poor performance. Beyond that, Kevin White taught me what it was to be a complete athletic director. Where Kevin was big, he showed up to practices and games, but he was just around, and you felt his aura more than you heard his voice. So I felt like being present in the moment was important. There and supportive of your coaches. Stan Wilcox, who's now the EVP at the NCAA, but he was my direct report when I first got to Duke. Incredible mentor. So there's so many people that I can name. But one thing I will say, and I'm a family person, and my mentorship started at home. My mom was a school teacher and moved up and kind of through things. She was a school superintendent. So education, and I had athletics from my dad. That was important. My grandparents just were huge. I quote my grandmother all the time and the things she did. And then later in life, when I got to meet Lisa's dad, he always had words of wisdom for me. And so I believe in getting sown in, people throwing that stuff in, and then it develops who you get. So what Marshall's going to get is a kind of a me who I am at the root, but a combination of all these great people that have blessed me and sown into me.
You have been at the very biggest and best. You've had the front row seat for what it looks like, sounds like, and feels like when 100,000 people go crazy when the balls run through the tee.
Yep.
You've been there with the Cameron Crazies, national championships. You've been most recently at Austin Peay, where the football stadium seats 10,000.
Mm-hmm.
But the fan experience, regardless of how many there are, is critical. What have you taken away from that, and especially most recently when you were the athletic director with the Governors?
I take that you have to build it. When you think of the Tennessee tradition at Neyland Stadium, running through the tee, that started Doug Dickey a long time ago, and it had to build. Rocky Top started, and it had to build. So you got to try. One thing I learned, you got to try some things and see what sticks. Like it doesn't always, the first time you do it, I'm pretty sure everybody in Neyland Stadium did not sing the words to Rocky Top when the band played it the first time. But I learned that you kind of got to develop your traditions and let them work over time. And then success happens. At Duke, it was different. When I went from Tennessee football to Duke, I think the largest crowd at the time at Knoxville was like 109. And we were like, and it was amazing. And I get to Duke, and Duke had one of the longest losing streaks in the history. And the stadium was 33,000. It had a track around it. It was pretty bad. And then there was a double wide trailer on top for the press box. It wasn't very good, but we had to build it. And then when I got to Austin Peay was trying to build their football brand back, their business back. And we learned and we talk about the fan experience so much. It doesn't have to be the best, but can you engage them? And now in where we are in college athletics and in society, you better have your internet working. You got to have some big screens in there. You got to have good food, probably some cold beverages to get folks to come in the game. And I'm looking forward. I can't wait to see the Joan Pact and bring that same energy and creativity to the game day atmosphere. Because if we can get the fans in the stadium and we keep them energized, and I know the passion of the Herd Nation, and we keep them energized, we give them something to cheer about, I cannot wait for that.
What's on your short-term to-do list?
Well, I joke every time somebody asks me that. I said to find my office. I said, Brad and those guys did such a great job with the search process. I never really came to campus. So this is my first time in here. And so the first time after the press conference, it would be the first time I see my office. So I want to get that done, but I want to learn. There's you want to do things, but I need to learn my staff. I need to learn the people who are around. I need to learn what has been what's our best opportunity, what's our challenges. I got to get through all that stuff. They give me some guides and some notes and some things, but since the announcement, I've been trying to read and been ravenous for intel and questions. I think I've been on the phone with either Teddy or Xander or Jenny every day since this happened for minimum of 30-minute calls a piece. So it's been that kind of start.
So you're learning about the herd. We're learning about you. Tell us something that would surprise us about Gerald Harrison.
My daughters would say that I'm corny, but I think the most important. I think I love to cook. I love to try different things. I like to grill. I love music, and I'm pretty simple. I like sitting on the back porch, listening to good music. Obviously, have some good food, and just hang out with friends. I'm not real flashy. I just kind of chill out, and that's me.
Mr. Gerald Harrison, welcome to Herd Country.
Thank you very much. Thank you.